The next-gen car announcement date has officially been revealed, and Corey LaJoie might have just revealed that Richard Petty Motorsports might be the team, the Chevy team, that is switching to Toyota. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got a lot of stories to discuss here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. Let's start off with all the sponsorship announcements, and then we'll jump into all the other stories of today's episode. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Austin Hill's 2021 Mobile One TRD scheme that we will see next weekend in the Truck Series at Richmond International Speedway. I have been a huge fan of the Mobile One schemes for a long time, and once again, this one looks really awesome. The TRD looks really well in the car, and Mobile One does a really good job with their sponsorship as well. This paint scheme looks super awesome. I really like it a lot, and Austin Hill hopefully will do a good job with this paint scheme at Richmond International Speedway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Ryan Preece's 2021 Louisiana Hot Sauce scheme that I think we're going to see this weekend at Martinsville Speedway. This paint scheme is really cool. I think JG Doherty this year have had some really awesome paint schemes this year, and I like this one a lot as well. Louisiana Hot Sauce is really well put together on this car, and I think that this paint scheme looks really awesome. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Freeway Insurance, as they are going to be sponsoring Daniel Suarez at the Fall Texas race in the NASCAR playoffs. And by the way, this is the first time that Freeway Insurance is doing their first ever sports marketing deals sponsoring Daniel Suarez. So this is really awesome for Daniel Suarez. And Kyle Sykes, once again, does not miss a beat. Every single paint scheme this year has either been pretty good or his paint schemes have been really awesome. Not a single paint scheme has been bad by Kyle Sykes. That guy knows how to design cars. This paint scheme looks really awesome, and it gets a modern take on how paint schemes should be looking going towards the future. The next paint scheme we're taking a look at is Kyle Busch's 2021 Snickers Peanut Brownie scheme that we will see this weekend at Martinsville International Speedway. Kyle Busch has had a different paint scheme every single race since the beginning of the year, but really a lot of them have been really awesome start this year, and I think this one's no exception. This one looks really awesome. The purple looks really awesome, and all the paint scheme branding looks really cool. I really like this paint scheme a lot. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Brett Moffitt's 2021 Destiny Homes scheme that we will see and think this weekend at Martinsville International Speedway. This paint scheme is alright in my opinion. It's really awesome, and Destiny Homes is stepping up to the plate and sponsor Brett Moffitt. Brett Moffitt's a very good driver. He just tends to struggle with sponsorship. But the fact that Destiny Homes is going to be sponsoring Brett Moffitt this year is really awesome, and I like this paint scheme quite a bit as well. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is actually my favorite paint scheme that we are talking about today. Joey Gase is going to be driving the 28 throwback car to Davey Allison at Talladega Superspeedway on April 24th and April 25th. So you will see it in both races. Now, this is a renumbered car with him driving the number 28. But technically it's 53, but this is a renumbered 28 to honor Davey Allison, and because Davey Allison basically was an organ donor, and you know Joey Gase basically supports organ donation as well, which is a really good thing. And Liz Allison gave him the benefit of this as well. This is something really cool as well. And it's just a great replica as well. One of my favorite throwbacks that has been revealed this year up to this point. And we're going to see it now at the throwback race, but at Talladega Superspeedway. It's a super speedway. I'm really excited. And hopefully Joey Gase can do very well. It's just so awesome that it is coming back to the racetrack as well. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Anthony Alfredo's 2021 Iracing scheme that we will see this week in Martinsville and potentially other races in 2021. This paint scheme, like a lot of them today I've talked about, looks super cool. I like the coloring on it really well, and it's a very nice looking paint scheme as well. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Eric Almirola's 2021 Smithfield Anytime scheme that we will see this weekend at Martinsville Speedway. I like this paint scheme a lot too. Smithfield cars generally look really awesome, and I really like this one a lot. It's very cool. And I really hope that this paint scheme will help Eric Almirola turn his luck around, because he's been really having bad luck this year. Hopefully this paint scheme will turn around his luck here in 2021. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Austin Dillon's 2021 American Ethanol scheme that we will see this weekend at Martinsville Speedway. This paint scheme, like a lot of them, looks really, really awesome as well. This is the first time they're sponsoring Austin Dillon in 2021. And it kind of gives me vibes when Kaz Gralla drove this car when Austin Dillon was on standby because he had COVID-19 this past year. It looks really, really, really awesome, and I can't wait to see this car out on the racetrack here really, really soon. The next paint scheme and sponsor news we're going to talk about is Hyperice, as they're going to once again be sponsoring AJ Allmendinger this weekend at Martinsville International Speedway. They already sponsored Kaz Gralla earlier. I think they sponsored for the first 2 races earlier this year, and once again, they'll be sponsoring him in the Xfinity Series at Martinsville. Great to see Hyperice stepping up to the plate and sponsoring AJ Allmendinger this weekend at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Brad Keselowski's 2021 Freightliner scheme. I'm not usually a big fan of the Freightliner schemes overall, but I think that this one looks really, really cool. It kind of gives me the Verizon vibes that Austin had earlier this year, and I do really like this paint scheme a lot, and I think that it will do very well since Keselowski's really good here. I think that this paint scheme will do very good overall coming up. And then the final paint scheme that we are going to take a look at is Ryan Truex's 2021 Marquis Spas 900 Wishes scheme that we will see, I think, at Richmond International Speedway. Awesome paint scheme. Really, really cool. I'm a huge fan of the Marquis Spa schemes, and this one's no exception. This paint scheme looks super, super cool, and I cannot wait to see it come out to the track here in a couple weeks. And now let's go ahead and jump onto all the other stories we discussed in today's episode. Let's start off with Circuit of America with the Turtles. That's right. Speedway Motorsports is going to be adding turtles to the inside of turns 4, 5, and 6 because of width in these areas. The turtles will encourage drivers to drive the course, which means they're basically bringing turtles out to the track, which could hurt the suspension as well. But they're bringing turtles out to the racetrack because of track limits issues. But if you wanted to force track limits, I guess it makes sense because NASCAR is out enforcing track limits. So they're basically encouraging drivers to follow the track. Drivers will probably try to go over them and try to do some crazy stuff. But they will be once again bringing turtles out to the track. It doesn't really surprise me one way or the other, but I like to see drivers just go way off the track. But I understand the track limits have to be a thing for safety reasons and all that stuff. But yeah, I just wish that didn't have to be the case. But they're bringing turtles out to Circuit of Americas. I think they use as the Charlotte Roval as well. So that's very interesting to know. The next story we're going to talk about is the starting lineups for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. That's right. Joey Logano is going to be, we'll start off with the Cup Series, as Joey Logano is going to be starting on the pole for the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500. Remember, Joey Logano won last week or two ago. He won at Bristol Dirt. So he once again will start on the pole. Joey Logano is really, really good here at Martinsville National Speedway. I think he's a driver you definitely need to keep your eye on. My pick for that race is going to be Martin Truex Jr. since he has won 2 of the last 3 races, and he could have honestly won the last 3 straight races at Martinsville. Now we jump to the Xfinity Series starting lap that you are seeing on the screen. Harrison Burton is going to be starting on the pole for that race. Now, Harrison Burton actually won the last time we were here at Martinsville. He's actually my pick to win this weekend's race in the Xfinity Series on Friday night at Martinsville because he won the last time we were here in the Xfinity Series, which was the first time he came back to the Xfinity Series in 14 years. He is my pick to win, but also keep an eye on guys like AJ Allmendinger and Austin in this race, and also Noah Gragson as well for his over-aggressiveness throughout this race. So I'll keep an eye on those drivers coming up in this race. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about some NASCAR executive moves that have taken place over the last 24 hours. So these are the big ones that we need to pay attention to. Ben Kennedy is going to be promoted to Senior Vice President of Strategic Development. Great move overall. Ben Kennedy's been doing a lot of great stuff for the sport. I really enjoyed him. I wish he was still out on the racetrack. I thought he was a pretty solid driver overall. But he's been doing a great job in the sport and being a big voice for the sport as well. Darrell Wolf is going to be promoted to the CRO. Really awesome. Darrell Wolf's an awesome dude, and I think he'll do a very good job as well. And here's another big move that's happened. Frank Kelleher is going to be replacing Chip Weil as president of Daytona. Chip Weil, I think, has done a really good job with keeping the facility of Daytona up. I think he was involved with the Daytona Rising back in 2016 when they did that big move and that big project. He's been doing a lot of great things as well with that track. But Chip Weil is not out of NASCAR, as he is moving to SVP, Chief Track Properties Officer as well. There was a lot of other big moves that took place as well. We saw Julie Geese and a couple people get promoted to like certain regions with running those operations as well. But those are the big ones. Chip Weil, man, absolutely deserves the opportunity. Congratulations to Chip Weil and getting a major opportunity to work as SCP, Chief Track Properties Officer. That is super awesome and great news overall. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about Trackhouse once again. As Justin Marks reported on NASCAR Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, that he says that sponsorship inventory is sold out for 2021 with Trackhouse Racing. So they will not have any more sponsors that are going to be coming on a team as well. The fact that they're already sold out on sponsorship for 2021 is really, really awesome. The fact that the new teams, the 2311 Racing and Trackhouse Racing, them being able to have sponsorship filled up for the whole year, both those teams, is really, really awesome to say at the least. Those teams bring a lot of sponsors and a lot of funding to them. And two pretty good drivers as well, and also a lot of marketing and branding for that team as well. And the fact that they are both sold out is super, super, super awesome. And I'm really, really happy that Justin Marks said, because to be honest with you, I don't know what the future of Trackhouse Racing with the charter situation, because they're leasing a charter. I hope they outright buy the charter, which they should, because they need to outright buy the charter from Spire Motorsports. But it is overall really, really awesome that Justin Marks, his sponsorship inventory of that for that organization is really good to hear, and that's awesome news overall to say at the least. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about the next-gen test that took place on Tuesday and Wednesday. Now remember, Tyler Reddick was the one who conducted the next-gen tire test. Now Tyler Reddick was basically getting up to the side of the wall. If you guys saw from the videos from the test earlier today, he was getting up to the wall, testing the wall. We all know how good Tyler Reddick is on the wall. I think Kyle Larson is best in my opinion. But Tyler Reddick is a close second when it comes to riding the wall. He knows how to wall ride, and he knows what he's doing. Well, during the test today, though, Tyler Reddick basically yawed the car out a little bit, trying to get it yawed out where he can get a little sideways and drift a little bit. And he got into the outside wall and ended up damaging the car. Now, Tyler Reddick said that you can't basically yaw these cars out anymore, and on throttle and off throttle time is going to be very, very important as well. He also said today that this car is harder to drive than the Cup Series car and the Xfinity Series car. So I think talent is going to matter a lot more with this car, and I don't want this car to be uncontrollable. When Tyler Reddick is saying that, I like to hear that he said it's harder to drive, which is really, really good to say. These guys should be the best drivers in the field, and hoping the next-gen car comes together very well. But this is really encouraging to hear that this car, and he had a lot of positive thoughts on this car overall. I know Tyler Reddick's a younger driver, so his feedback is not going to be as important as guys like Kurt Busch's and Martin Truex Jr.'s. But his feedback is also super, super important as well. And the fact that he brought that feedback to NASCAR is really, really good news overall. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the first of two major stories of today's episode. A couple days ago on Monday evening, Corey LaJoie was basically going to an I can't remember exactly what it was. He was in the number 7 car, and he was actually in a Toyota. Now, a lot of people were starting to speculate on Twitter that there was a potential that Corey LaJoie, Inspired Motorsports, were going to switch to Toyota. Well, Corey LaJoie actually reported about the door bumper clear situation. We'll talk about here very, very soon. But he actually reported that he said, oh, that's the 43 team they're talking about, which is Richard Petty Motorsports. Now, we need a little bit of backstory on the situation of why he's saying that. So basically, a couple months ago, the week after Daytona 500, on the Door Bumper Clear podcast, there were two things that were reported, and Freddie Crawford, a spotter for Bubba Wallace at 2311 Racing, he says that 2311 Racing is planning on expanding to 2 cars. They're hoping to expand to 2 cars. And he also said that a lower-tier Chevy team is going to go over to Toyota as well. There was a lot of speculation around that. On top of that, David Wilson also reported that there is going to be a big shakeup coming in regards to a team that is also potentially going to be switching to Toyota as well. Now, you have to think about the lower-tier Chevy teams that are currently a Chevy. You have Spire Motorsports team that Corey LaJoie drives, which is the 77 car and a 7 car, the one that Corey LaJoie drives, but they have alliance with Chip Ganassi Racing and Chevy as well in Hendrick Motorsports, so they're not going to switch over. You also have JTG Doherty Racing, which they have had history with racing with the Toyota organizations. They raced with Toyota from around 2009, I think, to 2013, but in 2014 they switched over to Chevy. I can see them going over. They've had issues basically funding with 2 cars, but I think that they're going to fall back to 1 car, and there's a chance that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. could remain at that team, though things can change overall. But that's one team that has been a question. Another team that could be switching is Starcom Racing. They're a lower tier funded team, but I have a feeling that Starcom Racing, they're not a team that's going to make the market, and it's not going to be a major, major news story overall. So a lot of people like myself are thinking that there's a very good chance that Richard Petty Motorsports is going to be the team that is switching over to Toyota. And the reason is Richard Petty Motorsports is really not aligned to a manufacturer. I mean, you look over the history of the last 25 years, they've driven a Pontiac, a Ford, a Dodge. and a Chevy as well, and other manufacturers, and even a Plymouth as well. So it would not 100% surprise me if Richard Petty Motorsports was going to switch. It was also reported last year that if Bubba Wallace is going to stay at Richard Petty Motorsports, that there was a chance that they were going to switch over to Toyota as well. So that's why the conversation around Richard Petty Motorsports is going as well. Could you imagine Richard Petty Motorsports switching over to Toyota? That would shock the NASCAR nation definitely and be a massive, massive story. But that's what they're saying, is that the move and the team that does go over to Toyota, that's going to be a massive shakeup overall for NASCAR. So I think that this honestly could happen. Again, it's not been confirmed by Richard Petty Motorsports or any of the organizations. Well, I think that we're going to see a few more Toyotas in the field. We're going to see two. I think there's a really good chance that 2311 is going to have two cars next year. They're probably going to buy a charter from like a team like Iracing. When I started, Iracing was able to basically sell one of their charters. And I also think that there's a good chance that a smaller tier Chevy team or a team that is outside of NASCAR that we don't know about is going to go to Toyota. But I definitely think speculation is there. I think there's a very good chance that Richard Petty Motorsports is going to switch Toyota. I think it's absolutely possible because it's been reported that basically for a couple months that there's potential of that happening, and I could definitely see Richard Petty Motorsports. Plus, Eric Jones drove for Toyota, the TRD program, from 2013 to 2020, so I can definitely see them switching back to Toyota here in 2022. We're going to have to keep an eye on a silly season in Washington closely, but I think that there's a very good chance overall that Richard Petty Motorsports is going to switch over to Toyota. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the final story of today's episode, as this is a massive, massive news story. We are talking about the next-gen car, as NASCAR has officially confirmed the date that they're going to be revealing the next-gen car at 3 p.m. Eastern on May 5th, so 2 o'clock Central Time, 12 o'clock on the West Coast. Your time zone depends. They're going to be revealing the next-gen car. Now, manufacturer has not 100% been confirmed at this time. It is anticipated that it's going to be a Toyota Camry. Toyota did confirm that it's going to be a Toyota Camry. It'll be the Chevy Camaro for Chevy, and then it's going to be the Ford Mustang as well. Those are the expected manufacturers for the car. I can tell you right now, I'm starting to get very, very hyped about this car. I'm keeping my optimism definitely, but I'm also not 100% optimistic right away that this car is going to be very successful from the beginning. It's going to take some time for this car to talk about. So let's talk about some things that we do know about the next-gen car. The next-gen car is going to have a sequential gearbox. The next-gen car is going to have a rear diffuser, which is going to create more downforce. They've been testing so far a lower blade and higher blade as well, a higher spoiler and a smaller spoiler on the car. This car will have single lug nuts with the wheelbases being increased 18 inches. 5 lug nuts will not work, so they have increased it to only have 1 lug nut on the car. During the test we've seen from a lot of the drivers, Kurt Busch and Mark Truex noted that the car works really, really well on the road courses. This car is made for the road courses. This really, really looks like a road course car as well. Kurt Busch and Mark Truex Jr. also said that this car is not as good as the mile and a half when they did the test, but they were maybe able to change it as well. It also did show that it had a splitter on the car from what I've seen, though you're going to have a little bit of something down there, but there is a little more clearance on the bottom of the car as well, and the rear diffuser is supposed to bring that air back, which is really, really good. So far, this car also seems like it is a little bit more harder to control as well. There's been quite a few drivers that have wrecked during tests. I think Cole Custer spun out during his test. Chris Bell spun out during his test. William Byron has spun out. And we've also seen today a couple other drivers. Well, Tyler Reddick also got in the wall and Rocket as well. So it's not easy as a car to drive, which is really, really cool, which is going to mean that mechanical grip is going to matter a lot more on this car than not. I can tell you what, man, guys, this is a huge, huge deal. This is technically the first time we're really having a new car since the Gen 5 car, which is the car tomorrow, was introduced. Basically, the Gen 6 car was kind of a continuation of the Gen 5 car. It was just modifications, make it more like stocky, make it look more like a regular street car. And then the 2019 car was more of like a Gen 6.5. So I can tell you right now, I'm definitely super, super pumped up and definitely super, super excited for this car. But I'm also I'm going to be realistic here. Do not expect that this next-gen car right away when it comes out. Do not expect this next-gen car to be perfect right away. It's going to take a couple years for the next-gen car to really get going. I think it's going to take a few years. But whichever team perfects this car first, I think that team is going to have the advantage. And we've seen a couple times where Hendrick Motorsports has been that team that's been able to perfect that as well. This car is also supposed to be a cost saver in the long term. Short term, it's going to cost a lot of money, so expect the charter teams many, many weeks, maybe except a couple times maybe on the super speedways. Expect these teams basically like the charter cars, expect those teams basically be the only cars on the racetrack on a week-by-week basis. But as the next couple years roll on, more teams will be coming in. There's been talks that this car might be hybrid, even though it's been confirmed with the next engine, which their new engine is supposed to be coming in 2023, or talks have said it could come in 2023, though we don't know, and not attract new manufacturer. One thing also to note, the engine is been, even though I have not confirmed this, it is either going to be around 600 to 650. They say they're originally going to have it at 550, but they're going to have it up 650. But keep this in mind, this is not a 900 horsepower. I think it's not a 900 horsepower engine that's being new to 650. I think it's going to be a straight 650 horsepower car, which means that on and off throttle time, like I mentioned, is going to be really, really cool. I can tell you right now, this is arguably one of the biggest announcements that is going to come out, and a lot more details and a lot more questions are going to come out. I saw quite a few people on Twitter and other social medias saying that NASCAR is going to test this car at the All-Star race. I will be honest with you, I'm not expecting them to bring it to the All-Star race. It's too soon. It's 1 month. Do not expect them to bring it out to the All-Star race and race. I don't know why people are thinking that's going to be the case. I'll be honest with you, I do not expect it. I think that everyone needs to be cautiously optimistic with this car, though. Yes, you can definitely be really, really excited. I think you definitely should be excited that we're getting a next-gen car and we're getting a new generation of cars out on the racetrack. But you also have to be cautiously optimistic as well and just hope that the car doesn't fall apart and things go very, very well. And hopefully eventually racing gets good, but don't expect right away, which I think that's why NASCAR is also introducing road courses. This car is really, really good on the road courses as well. So I definitely am really, really excited for sure for the announcement. We'll get more details on what they're doing with the next-gen car, but keep your optimism at a just keep yourself at a cautious optimism. Let me just say that, and hopefully when this car gets announced, there will be a lot more details coming out from that front. So, anyway, that is going to be for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so you get notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Link description below for that, and comment below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts about the next-gen car being revealed on May 5th? Are you excited for that announcement or not? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about potentially Corey LaJoie's thoughts on Richmond Motorsports possibly moving over to Toyota in 2022? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, like I said, make sure to like this. YouTube can recommend more of these great videos. Do that. I would greatly and truly appreciate it. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.